Alright, welcome to the Almost Fiction podcast, where we will be talking about everything almost fiction. There's a lot of different categories involved in that, so stay tuned if you're interested. The first thing we'll be covering is what is going on in the, let's see what's brewing in our pot here. It's time we discuss news in the fantasy realm. That's our first segment, the fantasy realm. So, in other news, I have a light right here. Hold on. Let me turn it on. Okay. So, during our fantasy realm segment, we're going to be talking everything fantasy. That includes witches, folklore. Wait, it doesn't really include witches because that's another segment, but it includes everything fantasy, including Disney, but not only Disney. So the first news is that we all know it's the 100th anniversary at Disneyland. So there's been a lot of changes. There's been changes to the castle. It's designed differently. There's all sorts of decorations. There's all sorts of new merch, including these really cute Crocs that I saw online. They're like purple. The color for the 100th anniversary is like a purpley color, and everything like the shirts, a lot of the bags and everything, it's this really cute like purple color, so it's so cool. And the castle, the new decoration they have, it's all like twinkly and shiny. And they had the three fairies, Flora, Nora, and Merryweather. Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather. Yeah, they have the three good fairies from Sleeping Beauty, and they're like on the castle and they're twinkling and there's a little star there, and it's just so nice. I really think that it's cool that they're doing that this year. And they changed the World of Color show. It's now World of Color 1 or something like that, so people are wondering if this rendition is only going to be available during the 100th anniversary or if it's like the brand new show, like the old one's not coming back and they completely changed it. So that's a big thing that's going on, because I know I've seen the World of Color show and I thought it was like the most amazing show I've ever seen, literally. So this year, I mean, them changing it is kind of like sad for me, but I know it's pretty cool. And they incorporated a lot of new movies like Star Wars and Frozen and all that into it, but I'm not gonna lie when I tell you that the old one had all the old classic Disney films in it, which are my favorites, so I might prefer the old one, but the effects are probably super cool, so I'm interested in seeing it. Oh, and by the way, the stars that are drawn by the Disney castle, like the new animations, some of them are like uneven, and that's like a nod to one of the artists that works for Disney, because he always drew his stars like uneven and funny looking like that, so it's like a nod to him. Just thought I'd throw that in there because, you know, we're in the fantasy segment. And I also have news because today is the first day that we saw the official trailer for The Little Mermaid. That's right. That's why I have my Little Mermaid stuff out. She's probably my favorite princess, but I'm not going to tell you for sure, but actually, I am. She is my favorite princess. I had a birthday party of Little Mermaid when I was 3 years old. I don't really know if it would count as a party, but I had a cake, I had a balloon, my cake was Little Mermaid themed, my gifts were Little Mermaid themed, everything was Little Mermaid, okay? Just because I had 3 people show up doesn't mean it wasn't a birthday party. Anyways, so the trailer looks pretty cool. We saw King Triton, we saw the classic scenes. It came out, today's the day of the Oscars, and this is when the first trailer was released. It showed our princess, it showed some songs, like little clips of Part of Your World. It showed Ursula for the first time officially. I think Ursula's played by Melissa McCarthy, I'm not sure, I heard that somewhere. So she looked pretty cool, like pretty interesting, but I don't know that I love the look, but it was interesting. They showed her tentacles, and it was creepy looking. They showed Sebastian, who is a crab, like a literal crab. He doesn't really look that cool, to be honest. It's like a real life crab. They showed Flounder, a real fish. He's very vibrant and looks just like this flounder, but again, I think he's a real fish. It looks kind of uncanny. And Scuttle, they showed, of course, and he is not a seagull. they changed him to a diving bird. And this is because a diving bird can actually like dive into the water and I guess like have more scenes with Ariel in the water. Like that's the intention. And seagulls don't really go into the water like that. So that's why they changed the bird species. But it's still Scuttle from what I understand. And it's not a boy anymore. It's voiced by Awkwafina. So might be like a funny rendition, but I don't know why they made the change, but it's fun, you know?
Something about you seems different.
Look at you! Look at you! There's something different.
I can't quite figure it out.
Don't tell me. I gotta admit, I can't put my foot on it right now, but if I just stand here long enough...
She got legs, you idiot!
She's got legs, you idiot!
I personally like the original Scuttle, but I think everybody's gonna feel that way because we have an attachment to the original movie, so these kinds of changes are like difficult to understand, you know, but it's just all in fun. At least they're making the movie.
So there's been updates since I last filmed this, and yes, people are unhappy with what Scuttle looks like. They wonder why he's a real bird, and they made a version of what he could look like CGI, and it's really cute. Disney's Pinocchio in 2022 had a CGI seagull, so it proves that Disney is capable of doing this, but maybe they just didn't do it because it was too soon. Even SpongeBob has made CGI seagulls.
And Sebastian is voiced by one of the leads in Hamilton. It's the guy that voices Thomas Jefferson. That's Sebastian. So we'll see how that one goes. It's a pretty strong voice.
So what did I miss? An immigrant embezzling our government fund. I can almost see.
Sebastian will have his iconic Caribbean accent, and Daveed Diggs is not of Caribbean descent. However, he has taken this role very seriously, even traveling to Trinidad and Jamaica to work on his Caribbean accent, as well as taking dialect lessons.
Jefferson has my vote.
When you see Hamilton, thank him for the endorsement.
Teenagers, you give them an inch, they swim all over you.
And I just think it's so funny that people have an issue that Ariel is black. I don't really know why it's such a problem, but I just think it's funny because you see how Sebastian was like Jamaican the whole time, and he's like, down here all the fish is happy. Like he literally is like singing like a Jamaican person the whole movie.
Life under the sea is better than anything they got up there.
He's like, life under the sea is better than anything they got out there. Okay, I'll stop. But, you know, he literally is like super Jamaican and nobody cared about that. Like, oh, let the crab be Jamaican, but once you make the princess Jamaican, we have an issue. Or once you make the princess black, we have an issue. Like, that's so ridiculous to me. Like, you guys should have been angry that the crab was Jamaican back in the day, okay? And nobody cared. But all of a sudden now, everybody's so bothered and everybody cares so much about a Disney princess. Snow White has been announced and she's Mexican, so everybody's having an uproar about that too.
Let's talk Snow White. It is Disney's first animated feature film, released in 1937, so people are quite fond of it. Rachel Zegler is set to play Snow White, who is of Colombian Polish descent, which is where the Zegler comes in. She is known for playing Maria in West Side Story, and she's our second inclusive princess, with Ariel being the first. It is said that her vocal capabilities and range are amazing, which is why she got the role.
And if you hear it echoing,
New music is also being written for this film from the pair who wrote the music for La La Land. I honestly think she's a good choice because Snow White is not blonde and blue-eyed. She could be Latin, and Rachel does kind of look like Snow White.
It's like you can never win, you know. People are always going to be upset, but, you know, people need to get their chance. So what if Snow White is going to be Mexican? It's not that big of a deal. And I think Gal Gadot is also going to play the evil witch, the evil queen. So we'll see how that goes. I'm just hoping when she's turns into the hag, they make her really creepy and disgusting because that hag is terrifying. We have Mufasa coming out this year. Well, soon. That's exciting. Oh, a little bit more about The Little Mermaid. I know that Alan Menken, who produced the movie, who composed the music for the original film, is working on this film. He's working on the music for this one, so that's really exciting. Mulan, they decided to pull out all the music because they wanted it to have a more serious tone to it, which I hate because I love the music in that movie.
ancestors, hear my plea.
Let's get down to business.
Wish that I had.
But I'm so glad with The Little Mermaid they didn't decide to do that because a huge part of her in general is her singing and her voice. So how are you going to take out all the singing. I thought maybe they'll just incorporate like the main scene moments, like when they're taking her voice from her, like ah, like maybe they'll just show that. But I'm pretty sure they're doing like all the songs because he's working on it. And Alan Menken also said that he's working on new music. There's going to be 4 original songs in this film, so that's really exciting. And he's working with one of the producers on the film, Lin-Manuel Miranda. So that's so cool. I love Hamilton, love the music for Hamilton. I know he did the music for Moana, which was pretty good too. So that makes me feel really excited, because when you hear 4 original songs, you're like, oh no, what are we gonna get? What is this gonna be? Don't ruin my favorite movie. But when you hear that Lin-Manuel and the original composer are working on this music, it gives me a little bit of hope. I think it's gonna have like a very like African style to it, which is exciting. Like they're gonna get it right. Like they're gonna have like cool drums, cool instruments, great voices. Like I'm pretty excited to see what they come up with. So that's a first, that I'm excited for original music in one of these readaptation films. Like take Aladdin. I was so excited to see that one. The song that Jasmine sings that they decided to throw in there, new song, not really a fan. So this music, instead of me feeling like I usually do, like, oh no, what are they gonna do? I'm actually excited. So that's cool. They showed the scene of Ariel saving Eric. They showed like the boat catching on fire. They showed her and her father talking. It was really cool. They showed her getting her legs for the first time. The scene where Scuttle's like, something's different about you. So it's really cool. It's like really brings nostalgia. Oh yeah, so some changes to the Disneyland park. We know that Nintendo Land has opened. That's pretty cool, but from what I've heard, it's super packed, super difficult to get on any ride. It takes you like 5 hours, and it's packed with a bunch of adults that are so excited to get on all these rides. Like they're literally not letting kids actually do everything because there's adults overpowering the scene. So it's kind of funny. Like there's all these just big, huge guys that love Nintendo all out there waiting like 5 hours to get on rides. And I've heard that there's been like some complications with rides. Like a lot of things are like out of service and you have to like come back and try to get on it. That always happens at Disney, especially when something like it's a new park, like they still haven't gotten like their footing yet. So this can be expected when something opens, like when it's the opening of something like this and people are traveling from everywhere to check this out because it's not open in Florida yet. So yeah, I mean, it's pretty packed and it's pretty hectic. I would suggest if you really want to see that, wait like a month at least, because you're just not going to get your money's worth. Unless you're one of these people that goes to Disney like every single week, then go ahead, like try every week to get in and try to do like one thing each time. But if you don't get to go that often, I would suggest like just wait a little bit. It's only going to get better, you know? Peter Pan has been announced, the new film, and I saw a couple of... I just like to talk about the main changes here. So it doesn't look that exciting to me, but I'm not a huge fan of Peter Pan, so there you go. But the Lost Boys, I think in the original it was all boys, and this time they showed a couple of lost girls in there too. So that's pretty interesting. I don't really know the lore behind why it was all boys in the original film, but my boyfriend was telling me that it has something to do with, like, I heard that it had something to do with, like, boys that are, like, trying to find their way and, like, not knowing how to grow up, so they're, like, separated and they learn, like, I don't know, some sort of message for boys. I didn't really get it, but I was like, well, it's kind of sad that they don't include girls. Like, girls go through these things too, but Wendy was part of the movie. She was a girl. She was a good adaptation of a girl. Tinkerbell's part of the movie, who's spunky and cool, you know, a part of the original film. Like, there is girls in there. If Lost Boys really is a meaningful thing, that they all be little boys that are, like, want to leave, run away from their homes, you know. But if it's not really a big part of it that they have to be boys, part of the original story, then it's like, whatever. You can add Lost Girls. I'm not really affected, you know. So that's just a difference I saw. Oh yeah, and I also heard that they're going to be making some changes to California Grand Adventure this year because of the 100th anniversary, or I don't know if that one is 100 years, but they're doing like a change where they're adding like Tokyo Cisco. It's like Tokyo San Francisco looking, and they're going to add like different things to resemble San Francisco. I don't really know, but I'm not that excited. It seems kind of like weird, but apparently that's what they're doing. So look for that. Look up Tokyo Cisco Disney and just see what exactly I'm talking about, because I don't even really get it myself. I just thought I would report on it. The next part of the fantasy realm is elves, of course, anything elven, because I love those sort of things. So we're going to be talking about Tolkien, of course, Lord of the Rings, the show that came out, Ring of Power, and we're going to talk about Game of Thrones that came out. Both of these came out a while ago, but I watched both and I had some opinions. I'm not going to be the person that's going to complain that the lady dwarves didn't have beards like the original story. No, I don't really care about that. I'm just going to say that Ring of Power, I had a lot of hope for it. I was really excited for it. When I heard that Amazon was paying and it was going to like cost so much money, I wasn't really that excited. Like, I didn't think that we were going to get a great story. I thought it was going to be more of like a money ploy, and like it did kind of turn out to be that. Like, you see the money didn't really go into, I don't know, like I don't really see where the money went, if you know what I mean. Like, there's cool scenes, there's cool imagery, but sometimes it does look kind of like CGI-ish, and I don't know, like I didn't like the added characters. Like, Nori is an original character. I didn't really think they were so great, you know, but I mean, it was cute. Just wasn't like what I would say like legendary, like Frodo and Bilbo, you know. It was just cute. And they had the "Not all those who wander are lost," the J.R. Tolkien Hobbit quote. They did a whole song with it, and I remember in the book there's tons of like songs that you don't really get to hear in the movies, so that was pretty cute that they did a song of that. It was like overall a pretty nice show, like a fun watch, but like not enough happened, and the only story I was really concerned about was the dwarves and Elrond. That's it. I didn't care much about what anybody else was going through, so every time it would switch to different scenes like Galandria, I was like, okay, this is kind of cool, but whatever, you know. Anyways, or Luminor, all that. And the show was just running pretty slow, but I realized now there's going to be like 5 more seasons or something, so no wonder it was running so slow. But Game of Thrones, I was watching both at the same time like everybody, and of course you can't help but compare the two. It ran a lot quicker, it was a lot more action, it was like interesting, but I kind of noticed an issue with it that people haven't mentioned. I haven't heard people mention. Why was there so much pregnancy? Literally, people were like getting pregnant, like losing children, bleeding everywhere. Like, it was at the forefront of the show, and I just found that like so like off-putting. Like, I guess maybe I heard somewhere that it was geared for women, like to get us watching more, because I guess not enough women were interested in the original, which I don't agree with. Women love Khaleesi, but they did that for women, like to show the struggles that women were going through during these times, like during medieval times. You know, obviously childbirth and labor and all that was just super difficult and like a horrendous situation, but we don't need to see that to feel understood, okay? I don't know, I'm not the girl that's like, please show what we suffered through. It's like, it's horrible, it's awful, we all know about it. Seeing it doesn't bring me some sort of validation. It was just like really awful to watch. So I just find it funny that they focused on that so much, because it can't really be for the men. Like, I'm sure men would love more action fighting scenes. I'm sure they weren't dying to see these horrible births. So if it was for the women in that case, I don't think we really want to see it either, to be honest. Like, a couple scenes will suffice. We get it, you know? So yeah, there was just a lot of like gruesome, bloody pregnancy stuff, and I just was like, I wasn't really here for it. So that, I will say, was kind of like annoying, you know, but it was cool. It was good. And I will say both shows are nothing like the original movies or the original Game of Thrones show. Didn't expect it to be. But as far as entertaining goes, the Game of Thrones one definitely takes the cake. Controversies on that. People were mad again that there was black elves. People were so upset. But to be honest, it's like, it was really cool that they did that too. Like, now everybody can cosplay these characters, not just, you know, like you can cosplay whatever you want, and actually it's cool. The only thing is, like, there's a lot of different stories, like, of Middle-earth, and, like, there was, like, groups that, like, rode elephants and stuff like that, like, from faraway areas. So I kind of wanted to see, like, a different story, you know, like, adding, like, maybe Persian people and all different kind of people, instead of just, like, oh, here you go, like, you know, like, I don't know, I just think there could have been a lot more thought to it, but it was awesome. This is a complaint more towards the writing, if anything, than the addition of characters. Like, I don't care. That's cool, and I just find it so funny that everybody, well, not everybody, but all these, like, populations of groups are so affected. Like, change is not a problem, as long as you do it right. Another thing in the fantasy realm that I want to talk about is the Avatar: The Last Airbender film. That's been announced. The show is awesome. The first film they made was ridiculous. It was just so bad. So this film, I actually have high hopes for it. Everybody's really excited for it. Bringing Aang back. I watched Legends of Korra like most of us did. Let me know if you like Legends of Korra more, because I know a lot of people that do. But to me, it's like, come on, there's no question. Aang is so much cooler. Like, the first Avatar: The Last Airbender is so much better. Like, there's no question. And it's not just because I love Toph as well, okay? Wearing these glasses for a reason. I'm just kidding. But yeah, it's not just because I love Toph. I think everything about it was just a masterpiece. What else in the fantasy realm? We have a couple of video games to talk about. We know Hogwarts Legacy has come out, and that's been super controversial. It's not out for PS4. It is going to come out. That's actually been delayed because it's been just so difficult to get all those graphics and everything put on the PS4, I guess. So that's been delayed another month. And everybody that has played it, that means, like, a lot of those people that were streaming it, the game hadn't even come out for everybody yet. Like, they got it like 3 or 4 days before, and that's just like so, like, not fair. Like, everybody should just get the game when they get it, but whatever, you know, it happens, I guess, if you're famous. The last and final piece of our video game segment is Tekken. The new Tekken has been announced. And it's really exciting because usually when these games come out, you stay playing the same one for like 3 or 4 years. They don't really release a new one. You get like DLCs, and they keep doing different changes and adding different moves and everything, upgrades to the game you have. And you don't really get a new game for a while. Like Tekken 6, we were playing it for like a good 4 years or so. Tekken 7 was super exciting. There's still mods being done to the game. But the announcement of Tekken 8 is just like, oh my god, it's just mind-blowing, and I don't know what characters are going to be in it. Like, is Bike Doosan going to come back, or like, are we going to have Roger Rabbit? Because Roger Rabbit, oh my gosh, Roger, you know, the kangaroo, because he was one of my personal faves. Please don't take out Zafina. Love her. She was the Tekken 6 original, so she's pretty fresh, so I don't think they'll pull her out. But it's just crazy. Like, I hope that they put Roger back in, but they probably won't because they took him out for PETA reasons. Like, they were angry that you're beating up a kangaroo. With that being said, I don't know how we can have Kuma in there and Panda, but nonetheless, the kangaroo was an issue because I guess in Australia, people are literally like boxing kangaroos and like it's a problem, you know? So they had to pull him out of the game, which sucks because his kicks were like unmatched. Well, I play Wanong, Hwarang, as they say, but Roger just had a different kick to him, you know? He could punch, and he was a boxer, and he was a kicker. Like, come on, bring him back. And the tail spins, like, we need that. That's everything going into our fantasy realm segment. Let's get into our next piece, and it is going to be, what is in this pot? It is our witching hour. This is a segment where I will get into everything Wicca. That's why witches are not part of the fantasy realm. They get their own category here. As you can see by my cauldron, we fancy witchcraft. So let's get into this segment. I don't know what I'm going to do about these lights, if I should keep shutting them off or putting them back on. Like, this is supposed to be a witchy environment, you know? But I want to be able to, like, talk to you guys. Okay, here I am. I'm back. So for witching hour, I was going to go over just a couple of different things, you know? I do love Wicca. I love everything Wicca. Light, of course. This is real, so we're just going to show that and leave that there. Well, I'm not going to leave it. I can't leave it if I noticed it, you know? Get this right. My flowers are all dead. Okay. See, I don't want to be doing cuts throughout this because podcasts don't have cuts, but like me getting up, turning the lights on, off, like I'm going to get this smooth running episode 2. And there might be some cuts in episode 1, so please, it's nothing that I've said. I'm not cutting any words. I'm cutting these sort of moments out. For our witching hour, I will be talking all things Wicca. So Charmed, of course, is the basis of my Almost Fiction channel. Love Charmed. I'm a Charmed stan. Love everything about Charmed. I found it on my own. Usually everything my older brother shows me. That's why I'm kind of geeky. But Charmed, I discovered that on my own. Me. It just happened to be on TV. Thank you, TNT. You are a lifesaver. And when I was in high school, coming home from 4 o'clock, let me know if anybody else watched it at this time, on TNT, it was playing. It was first on CBS and then it went to TNT. Or NBC, sorry. Then it went to TNT. And that's where I watched it. And I just fell in love with the show. I loved everything about it. I watched it when I would come home from school. I would record it so I wouldn't miss it, because I think 2 episodes would play back to back, and I would always get home like during the second one. I would record it, I'd get home, I'd watch it. It was just my favorite thing ever. I loved it so much. I stumbled upon it, loved that sort of stuff, was already into it myself. It was just the best thing for me to discover, and I love it so much. So I want to say that I will also, during this segment, be showing you guys a tarot card. I have a couple of decks myself, but right now I don't know where my deck is. This is hard enough to set up, so I'll be doing that next week, or next time we have this podcast. So my tarot cards, I just will give you a little piece of advice. When you have a deck, you should keep your deck sacred, safe.
Keep it secret. Keep it safe.
It's valuable to you, it adjusts to you, it gets to know you, we'll say, because you are the reader. So you need to have your deck somewhere private. Usually people will tend to hide their decks, so you just hide it somewhere that you know where it is, nobody else really knows where it is. It's your private space, it's just a connection with you and your cards. And a lot of people don't even like people to touch their cards, to be honest. Like, no, don't touch them, they're mine. Because when someone touches them, it gets their energy a little bit. But I like people to touch them when I'm reading them, or just somebody that I care about or doesn't, mean ill will towards me. I will let them touch my cards, shuffle the cards. It's how I do readings. And I do let people see my cards. I'm not that person. So I will let you guys see my cards. We'll go over a card each week, the significance, the meaning, all of that sort of stuff. The deck is major and minor arcana, so we'll be getting into all of it. And as far as Charmed news goes, Charmed Con is coming up. I think it's in July or June. I don't remember. I saw it a while ago. It's coming up, and I was so excited for it. Well, it's not Charmed Con, it's 90s Con, I'm so sorry. 90s Con is coming up. I was so excited, I thought it was so cool. I love all these Wicca shows, all these 90s shows, and it's in Connecticut. I think it's in Hartford, Connecticut. So if you live in Connecticut, lucky you. That's super far from me, so I won't be able to attend. And it's just devastating because this year I called it Charmed Con because a lot of the Charmed characters will be there. We'll have Holly Marie Combs, Piper. We will have Rose McGowan, Paige. We will have Brian Krause, Leo. We will have Drew Fuller, Chris. And we'll have Shannon Doherty, Prue. Yes, 3 sisters will be there. But it's 3 sisters that were never on screen together, actually. It's Paige, Prue, and Piper. So that's pretty cool. If Alyssa Milano is there, I would have to just book my flight and get out there.
I know an angel when I see one.
I'm no angel. I'm a witch. Don't tell my sisters I told you.
If Alyssa Milano and Julia McMahon are there, oh my gosh, I would lose it. They're my favorite.
Please, if you can hear me,
I was beginning to think I'd never see you again.
But I'm kind of happy Julia McMahon is not on there and Alyssa Milano, because then I would just be losing so much money because I'd have to go out there. And I will tell you also, Dorian's going to be there, Daryl. So it's Daryl, Leo, Paige, Prue, and Piper. That's everybody and Chris. That's everybody that's going to be there. Sorry, it's so weird to say. But yeah, so that's super cool. A lot of characters. from my knowledge, and I have a lot of it, I've dug through all the Comic-Con panels, I will tell you that Drew Fuller, Chris, is a regular. He loves to be part of the charm stuff, so he's not somebody that you have to like jump and go crazy to see, because he does go to most of these like events that include Charmed in them, but he's still really exciting. He's a really funny guy. Brian Krause goes to a lot of these events as well, Leo, so I don't feel too disappointed that you're missing Leo and Chris, because they are quite involved in the universe. And the last person that's usually involved is Holly Marie Combs, Piper. She's a huge part of the cons for Charmed. She basically like holds the ship down, because she's the sister that always shows up, the dependable sister, right? So true to character. So those three, yeah, like I'm not like, oh my gosh, they're coming, like they always do it, but for Daryl to come and Shannon to come and Rose to come, because Rose doesn't really do too many events and stuff like that. She's kind of like out there doing her own thing. That's super exciting. And for Rose and Shannon to be in the same place at the same time, like we don't ever see that in the show, so it kind of feels like foreign, like it's not supposed to happen. Like people think they seem to hate each other or something, and they don't. They actually like each other. So it'll be cool to see them interact. You can get you can get a picture with all three sisters, and I guess just pretend you're Alyssa, you know? I'm just kidding. Well, people like that love Prue, some of them hate Phoebe, so maybe those people will be really happy she's not there. But a lot of people that love Prue also don't like Paige, or vice versa, because they're like, you're the sister that replaced the sister I like, you know? So people need to just get over that. It's just a show, like, in terms of actresses, like, they don't hate each other. Okay, Alyssa and Shannon might have had a little beef, but you can't blame Alyssa for getting Shannon off the show. Like, you know, things happen the way they happen. You can't hold grudges on these actresses because of these times. They certainly don't have a grudge, so, well, Alyssa and Shannon don't talk, but, you know, Rose and Shannon don't have a grudge with each other, so that kind of being angry at them too, and, like, not watching, not watching season 4 because Shannon's not in it. I mean, don't do that to yourself. If you're a fan, watch it all, check it all out, support it all. They're going to the con together because we know what it is, you know? Bless it be. Anyways, that con, so many people are going, and I just thought it was so cool that all these Charmed characters are going. It's basically a Charmed con, so get your tickets if you can.
The 90s con I talked about passed, but there's another one in Tampa Bay, Florida on September 15th through 17th. There will be tons of cast members from Boy Meets World and Ron Stoppable from Kim Possible. And as far as Sabrina goes, Sabrina was at the last one, and I mentioned Aunt Zelda was there, but this time Aunt Zelda and Hilda and Sabrina are all going to be there. I did not see any Charmed cast mentioned yet, so I guess the other one really is Charmed Con. However, as far as Disney goes, there are some real treasures this con. Jim was one of the voices for Winnie the Pooh. Paige O'Hara, who voiced Belle. Linda, Jasmine's voice, but not the songs. Judy Kuhn, who sings the songs for Pocahontas. Susan, who does the voice and the songs for Meg and Broadway's Belle. And last but certainly not least, Jodie Benson, who is the voice and songs for Ariel, the original. Did I mention Backstreet Boys will be there too? There are no schedules available yet for the panels. It's coming soon.
It looks like something might be brewing in this pot. I think it's time for our next segment. What's hot in the pot? What's hot in the pot? This week, there's actually a lot to discuss. This segment is when we'll talk about just relevant news, anything I personally want to talk about, because this is not a regular news segment, it's what I'm interested in. And this will include, as well, in this category, reality television. Because yes, I'm sucked into the hole that is reality television. I'm sure we've all heard, and we all are quite interested now in Vanderpump Rules. I've been a fan since season 1. I know everything about everybody. I'm obsessed. And the latest news that everybody's been talking about, shocking, the cheating SCANDOVAL, as Andy called it. Yes, that's right. We have a cheating scandal. It's not Brittany and Jax. It's not even Schwartz and Raquel, like everybody would suspect. It is Raquel and Tom Sandoval. Yes, Ariana's man, Tom Sandoval, is a cheater. Drop the mic. I'm just kidding. I literally almost fell right there. I'm not that shocked to hear Sandoval's a cheater, because we had a couple of incidences in the beginning where Kristen was trying to say he was a cheater, And somehow Ariana never believed it or didn't really care to believe it, which I applauded her for, because Kristen was being like a hater at the time. Why leave your man because her ex wants to like drudge up things that happen in Vegas? Like, everybody does things in Vegas, right? But maybe she should have heeded the advice, because he is a cheater. And I will tell you, I'm not surprised by this as well, because he's best friends with Jackson Schwartz. Like, come on. People are so surprised that these men can possibly be, like, scummy or whatever. It's like, they're friends with Jax. How long can you be friends with somebody like that? They were friends back in the day, doing all sorts of things together. Like, you know, birds of a feather. Like, they're pretty similar, even though they pretend they're not. Like, Sandoval tries to look like the nicest, best one, but he does look pretty self-centered all the time and self-absorbed. And he obviously does the same things that they do. Like, he's best friends with them. Anyways, so yeah, the scandal is Raquel, whose real name is Rachel, which I figured, by the way. I thought it was so weird that she went by Raquel, but I know a couple of like white girls that go by Raquel, that their name actually is Raquel, so I was like, whatever, you know, that's probably her name. But when I first heard it, I was like, oh, is she Latina? Like, do you think she like has like some Latin blood or something? No, she didn't. She was adopted, so I thought maybe her adoptive mother, like, I don't know, I just gave her like excuses like everybody else did. And I just have a theory about all of this. Like, I wonder why she's doing these sort of things. Like, I watched a podcast where she was with Sheena, and she was saying, like, Katie's not even my friend. So if me and Schwartz, like, were to have something or not, I don't feel any loyalty to Katie. Like, we were never friends. Katie and I were never friends. Who cares? Like, am I going to be loyal to Katie, who's, like, not even a friend to me? Or am I going to follow my heart and just do whatever I want to do? So it kind of justified what she did to Schwartz. But then in that same interview, she literally says, like, Ariana and Sheena have been friends to me, like, real friends. They're the ones I have loyalty to. And then you do this to Ariana. Like, it's so blindsiding that she would do this. And, like, I'm watching the episodes of this season, and she tells, in one of the early ones, she's like confused that James would move on so quickly. And when she has her first discussion with James's girlfriend, I think it's episode 2, she's like saying, like, you know, how could he move on so quickly from me? Like, did he never love me? Like, it's just so weird to me, like, that he can move on like that. And that's literally what she did too. He's like, isn't he moving fast? Well, if you don't understand that, and it's so hurtful to do that to somebody, like James doing that to you, how could you do that with Sandoval? Like, he moved on so quickly from his long-term girlfriend of 10 years with you. And you obviously understand what that feels like, because that's what you're questioning why James would do to you. But in one scene, she's like, I just have to understand that James has moved on, and I need to start living my life and doing the same. But I think she took that a little bit literal, and she's literally copying in James' footsteps. Like, you heard it here. I'm making a prediction. Raquel's an alcoholic. Okay? She has an issue with alcohol. She doesn't even remember kissing Peter. She's drunk at the time. She's drinking. Sheena makes a bunch of jokes to her, like, oh, we're as alcohol involved. Like, it's always a catalyst for the things she's going through. Peter's getting her drinks the whole night. James, when he talks to her, is like, you're drunk, huh? You've been drinking. Like, he knows. Like, I don't know. I think it's going to come out that she's an alcoholic. She's going to need to get sober as well. And the lightning bolt necklaces, I guess she was going to all of his shows. They were wearing the same necklaces. And people wonder, like, why would you do that? Wouldn't you think you're going to get caught, Sandoval? Like, how could you do this? But the thing is, of course, he knows he's going to get caught. Like, he's trying to get out. The end of this is not being with Ariana, obviously. I think what happened is that he didn't want it to come out on the show. So that's where he wanted to keep his image good. And after the show finished, maybe that's when he wanted to reveal to Ariana, like, hey, look, we're done. It just happened a little sooner than he thought, like, during the show airing. Like, he probably wanted the whole show to air and then tell Ariana. But, you know, he got sloppy. Because I could tell, too, in the beginning when she's like, don't say sure. Sure means you don't care. And he's like, sure. You can tell he's just not that interested anymore. And, like, they were saying they weren't sleeping together that often. You know, they say, he's not getting it from you, it's somewhere else. So just all of these things added together, it's like, it was coming, the cheating. But with Raquel, that's the craziest part. Like, people are going so far as to say, like, did they have something with each other when Sandoval was helping with the engagement? That's why he gave him so much money, James. But no, I highly doubt that. And she's been going to all his band things. It's kind of funny, like, yeah, because she's dating him, you know. It's just so messed up. But people are just really trying to understand what's going on. And I think she's being a copycat James. Like, he had the alcohol issue. He moved on super fast to another person, and she's like, I need to do me. No, you're doing the James. You're literally copying him. You're drinking way too much alcohol. You're acting super recklessly. You're like getting with somebody that it would be super hurtful to the other person, like someone in a relationship. Like, it's just, I don't know, it's weird. Like, James is her only example or something. But yeah, and there's a rumor that Sheena physically assaulted her, which I know the truth. I heard it on Kristen's podcast, which Kristen, by the way, is filming now. But before she was filming and signed any contracts, she revealed everything that happened. It was a FaceTime call that they saw the news. It was something Ariana saw on Tom's phone. And when Sheena found out, they were in New York. They did the Watch It Happens live. Raquel was on the phone with Ariana because Ariana called her immediately. And Raquel was saying, this is all allegedly because I don't want to get sued, but Raquel was saying, like, to Sheena's like, who are you talking to? Who are you talking to? Raquel's like, oh, it's Ariana, because me and Tom have been having a 7-month affair. And she said it super casually, which annoyed Sheena. Sheena takes the phone, throws it in the gutter. That's the assault.
You're telling this to Ariana's best friend. Sandoval and I had a 7-month affair. So Sheena snatched her phone. She threw it in the gutter.
There was discoloration on Raquel's face. Apparently, she's always had it. There's Halloween costumes. Tom Sandoval dressed up as Raquel for Halloween. And they were already dating at the time. So people are just finding it so weird. Like this hiding in plain sight situation they were doing. People are wondering if Schwartz knew about it all this time. I'm pretty sure he didn't know about it. But I think he found out when Tom was missing so much practice or so much stuff because of band practice. I'm sure he found out when he sat him down and asked him, dude, what's going on? And Schwartz doesn't have a backbone, never did. Like, it's not that he doesn't have a backbone, it's that he doesn't have a backbone to stand up for really what he thinks. Like, if you look at his situation, his marriage is done. Why are you going to be faithful to Katie's feelings when you guys are over? It's called a divorce, you know? Why are you going to be faithful to Katie when you guys are done? Lala, it's like you don't have to deal with her. You're not with Katie anymore. Your marriage is over. All you have is the bar with Sandoval. Sandoval is your best friend. You're losing your house. Like, Sandoval's all he has left at this point. Like, why is he gonna ruin that? Like, Ariana's his good friend too, but I'm just saying, like, it could be selfish reasons why he's sticking to Sandoval. Like, that's his only friend, not because he agrees. I was gonna get into this scandal a lot more, but I'm going to be doing some videos separately all about Vanderpump, and I'll get into all that a little deeper there. It's too much for one podcast. But yeah, this is truly news, and it's truly shocking. And I think Raquel's just not really thinking about what she's doing. Like, she says to herself, Ariana was her good friend. Why are you doing this to your good friend? I think she's just dumb. Like, she just does whatever, and like, she seems to be somebody that likes people other people are interested in. She did it with Oliver. She immediately liked him once Lala liked him. Schwartz, she enjoyed that Katie was so annoyed by it. And you think, oh, it's because you don't like Katie. No, I think it's because you like liking other people's dudes. So, get it together, girl. Next, I want to talk a little bit about Real Housewives of New York. So, Legacy, they said they weren't doing it, but ultimately they are doing it. It's back on. I think they were just saying that because they wanted to see people complain and see how much people really wanted it. And then they obviously got confirmed that, yeah, we want to see Legacy. That's what we care about, the OG cast. We don't care about any new New York girls. Like, it'll be fun or whatever, but we love the OG cast. So, who's officially in it? I believe Ramona's not, which is horrible. We have Luann, Sonia, Dorinda, I think she was officially announced, Kelly Benjamin, which she wasn't really entertaining just because she was low-key cuckoo. It's like she wasn't that great, okay? They just like drove her to the edge and she got so frustrated. Like, that's all we got out of her. She wasn't amazing television, but whatever. And there's like one more in there, which is not Bethany Frankel, so who cares? This cast, it's like, it's a little weak. Like, my dream cast for Real Housewives of New York Legacy would be Ramona Singer. I don't know why she was removed. Well, I kind of do. I think it's because she's a little controversial, and I think they're taking her out before she completely takes herself out, like cancels herself, you know? They're just pulling her out so they can use her for other things because they know it's probably not going to go well if they keep filming her. She's a ticking time bomb right there. But you have Ramona Singer, who would be in my dream cast. Dorinda, she's pretty messy. Sonia, because Ramona and Sonia are the best team duo.
Is this yours? I just peed on it. That's mine. Oh no.
Bethany Frankel, she's great television. She roasts these girls. She tells it like it is. Bethany, like, come on. We need to see you. And last but not least, I think it would be cool to see Aviva. Yeah, nobody's really mentioned her, but pulling off that leg, I'm putting it on the table.
Heather, why don't you take it? I'll crawl her. I'm here. Go ahead. Take it. Oh my God.
That was great TV. Like, we haven't had something like that in so long. Like, she's dramatic, she causes scenes, she gets flustered, she has all these funny little things about her, like she won't travel anywhere without her husband, which I understand. If you have a disability, you don't know what can go wrong when, so you need someone with you. But, you know, she has all these little personality quirks. Like, she's great television. Imagine Aviva and Dorinda getting into it. Like, Crazy City. That would be great. So that's my dream cast personally. But anyways, moving on, I will talk about Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Crystal is not coming back.
I spoke too soon and Crystal is coming back, but now listen to me rant about how I don't like her that much.
That's not shocking. Crystal was pretty boring, and she was a drama queen. I'm sure nobody really loves her at the end of all this because she wasn't a great friend. She turned on Sutton, who was there for her. I did a whole recap of the reunion. I'll release that later. And I knew she was a drama queen when she did that whole locked door thing for her first season. Like, really, you didn't lock the door and somebody walked in when you were changing and you're so affected by it. Like, if you are so bothered with these body things, and that, by the way, was the first time I realized that she probably had an eating issue because she was so body conscious. But anyways, yeah, if you're that sensitive about your body, like, people don't know that. If they knock and they kind of open it, it's all girls, we're all together, you didn't lock the door, who knows that that's a big deal to you? Like, she didn't do a capital offense. Like, you didn't lock your door. If I was insecure like that, or not even insecure, but like self-conscious, and I don't like people to see me, which is fine, you like your privacy, lock the door if you're taking off your clothes. Like, and I'd be like, my bad, I should have locked the door, but also don't walk in. No, there's no accountability for anything she does. It's like, oh, you're this, you're that, you didn't lock the door, oh, you made me feel horrible. Like, you felt so violated. Like, oh, I can stand her. So I just love that her husband did The Lion King, and that was the most entertaining part about her, is that she has a great husband, but she was just a little annoying. So glad she's gone. Ren is not coming back. There was this whole thing that it was either Renna or it was Kathy. And, like, she gave them this ultimatum. And nobody does well with an ultimatum, okay? So Kathy's back and Renna's gone. So was that true? Possibly. And who won? Kathy Hilton. Who always wins? Kathy Hilton. So Kathy's back. Everybody loves her still. And they're hoping that maybe Kim will show up so we can have 3 sisters there. That'll be entertaining. I would love to see the sisters. Everybody would. So I'm actually, like, on the same team as everybody else with that one. But I wanted to say, people are pretty sad that Renna's gone. People are big fans of her. And at the same time, people think she's, like, horrible and so mean. My opinion of her, I just kind of understand that she's a pot stirrer and that's her job. That's what she's here to do, you know? So I accept her for that. But, like, on a housewife basis, it's like, it's obvious her issue. She goes after anybody that's getting paid more than her, okay? Denise Richards came in as her friend, and she betrays Denise. Why? We all know Denise was getting paid the most. She got paid so much for doing the show, and Rinna was so angry. Like, seniority did not matter. Denise, like, fame mattered. Denise got paid so much. Who came in and got a lot of money? Kathy Hilton. She was a newbie, so it's not like she deserves the money, like how they say, you know, we deserve it, we've been here so long, because they get a fatter paycheck the longer they've been there. Kathy Hilton, brand new, gets paid more. So who didn't like her? Rinna. Rinna didn't have anything to gossip about her, so she tries to do this whole story, convoluted storyline that didn't even play out on the show, and try to make it a part of the show, which was, like, so boring. Like, we didn't see what happened. We're reading blogs about it, and the whole show is about this incident that we didn't even see happen, that you're trying so hard to bring to light. Like, it was obvious to everybody that Rinna was trying so hard to, like, make Kathy look bad, and it just made herself look bad. And I want to say also that Rinna's had these problems before, like the tweets and the internet stuff. She was talking and she's like, oh yeah, and Andy was telling her, like, you need to calm down. She's like, put me on pause. I knew she was going to get put on pause because people don't like when you're acting like so reckless like that. And it's not the first time she's done it. She tries to act like, oh, she just doesn't know what she's doing. Like, you should understand by now what I do. Like, no, it's not okay. You need to be punished for it. Because I don't know if anybody remembers or cares, because people hate Vanderpump. But back in the day, she was posting all sorts of stuff about Vanderpump watching the show back, saying, like, what's his name? Cedric, that he was right and all these sorts of things. She wants to invite him to a dinner party. Like, she was doing this before and attacking Lisa Vanderpump. And who was getting paid more than her at that time? Lisa Vanderpump. So that was her enemy, and she took her down. She got her off the show because Vanderpump just didn't want to deal with her, and she just is like a shark going after whoever's making more money than her. Like, it's insanity. So she just needs to not do this. Like, when she did that before, everybody did not like her, and she said, I'm going to be the best darn Lisa you've ever seen. I'm going to turn my personality around. Next season, she's super cool, and everybody likes her, and then now it's this season, and we're back to the original Lisa, who she really is. She's posting all these horrible things. She's not gaining anyone's favor. She's really mean to Sutton. That's who she truly is. She was just putting on an act the season before to quell the behavior she gave us previously. But it's just who she is. It came out again. So, yeah, you know, you can't be making these same mistakes over and over. So I saw her leaving because of that. Like, you know, Andy was annoyed with that. And the last thing is, she wasn't giving us anything personal anymore. Think about it. We know her daughter started dating Scott Disick, and she tried to show that, but we didn't really hear anything from the daughter about it. Like, she just mentioned it. Lisa Rinna mentioned it. So that was, like, kind of boring, you know? And she never talks about the breakup. I know her daughter OD'd at one point. Doesn't get into that. Like, we don't see anything about that during the show last season, and that was a big thing. And, like, she doesn't really show anything of her daughter. She didn't show the Scott Disick breakup. We don't know what happened with that. We don't really see what the husband was getting, like, a role in a movie and, like, practicing for it. Okay, who cares? What is Lisa Rinna doing? Like, we get no personal things, no personal conversations with her and her husband, just like these fake dinners. Like, she wasn't giving anything personal, nothing with the kids, no information about her, like, direct household, just the bolognese, like, that got so boring. Okay, give us more than the freaking bolognese. Okay,
I have my sauce that was given to me by you and Lisa.
So yeah, she wasn't giving us anything, nothing about her home life. People are, like, failed to realize that. Like, she was using it as a distraction, talking about everybody else and this and that, and I heard this about you, because she was distracting from not giving us anything about her own personal life. And then people were saying that she was going to do a reality show, like, based on her family. No, she's not. I can tell you right now, no, she's not. Not happening. Why? Because she gives us nothing. Because she doesn't want anyone to have anything bad to say about her and her family. Good for you. Then don't do a reality show. So, yeah, she's gone. It wasn't really that crazy to me. And by the way, I just want to say, when her mom passed, I just found it so weird, like, the way she introduced her mom. Like, she's this elderly lady named Lois. Like, she doesn't say her name. She never talked about her before until it became cute to show your families. And it's like, I was just wondering, if your mother's so old and you barely see her, your daughters have never been to Medford or whatever, like, it was their first time going, it's like, you never visit her? It's so weird. And, like, you're like, my dad and her are getting so much older. Why do you leave them out here by themselves? Like, you know, I have family that's older. We stay very close so that if they need things, we can help them. Like, there needs to be somebody in their life that's going back and forth, checking on them. Like, how do they get groceries? Like, I'm sure they're not driving anymore. Like, you know, like, I was wondering all those things about her family. Like, who's doing that? Because Renna's not. Renna's super far away, and, like, wouldn't you, like, move your family closer to you, or, like, do something, you know, to be more involved in your family, in your parents' lives? But no, she, like, did nothing, and it was just so weird. Like, I felt so bad. R.I.P. Lois. It was so sad. But Rinna was, like, I'm so happy. And like the day after, she's like, I don't know why I'm whistling. I just feel like whistling today. Like I was like, you are truly crazy, Rena. Like she's something else, okay? She's pretty scary. That's all I'll say. Who whistles like, I don't know. Anyways, I don't want to get too deep into that. I'm just saying it was hilarious the cut they did. Like they show the super sad Lois stuff, and the next morning on the trip, Rena's just like whistling, and Eric is like, who's whistling in there? And Rena's like, I'm whistling. I don't know. I just feel really happy. It's like, and she's like, I don't know. People usually grieve and they feel so sad, but like, I'm just really happy. It's like, okay, Rena. And then when she flips out and acts crazy, she's like, oh, it's because what I'm going through. It's like, okay, it's just convenient for you to like be sad about it when you're being crazy. Like you were just being mean and crazy. And I understand you're emotional, but don't try to act like you're rebranding grief by whistling and being so happy. And on the next end, you're flipping out and going crazy on people and blaming your grief. Like grief comes in many ways, and a lot of people are not whistling during their grief. But hey, Ren is one of a kind out there. So just do your thing in your mansion. We don't really need to see your husband make sauce anymore, okay? Oh yeah, I have a couple of things to say about Dorit Kemsley. Her accent is so annoying, okay? And I've noticed last season the accent calmed down. I think she realized like it's not working for you, bye. So she calmed it down. So I predict that this coming season she won't have an accent. Like it'll be even less. And she's slowly starting to lose the gimmick. And that's a great thing. So yeah, I predict that next season Dorit will have even less of an accent. And I wanted to also say that the spelling of Dorit, I was pretty shocked by. I thought it was Doreet, which is kind of like exotic. It's Dorit. It's Dorito. I saw it on Kyle's phone. It's almost Dorito. Like no wonder it gets auto-corrected to Dorito. And then you have Dorinda, which is kind of similar to Dorito too. So it's like, who is the real Dorito? Okay? That's my question. Anyways, I predict that PK and Dorit are going to have some clouds in their relationship. I feel like PK is going to cheat or something, or he's going to have this like horrible lawsuit happen. Like, I don't know. I see a breakup between the two of them. And I don't want to say that because their family life is so cute. Their kids are so cute. And I don't want to say their kids go through that. But I just don't see PK being the best, most reliable husband. So I just see some clouds in their future. So we'll see. Maybe if Dorit goes for something like that, she'll get another season because she's getting pretty boring. I predict this is her last season. I don't think they would have gotten rid of her during the robbery because it was so crazy and such a big deal. She was safe last season. She's not safe this season. I think it's her last. And the last thing I want to talk about is Real Housewives of Jersey. So, for Real Housewives of New Jersey, there was some news happening during the time of Teresa's marriage when Ramona blurted out where the address was and showed her invitation to everybody. Yeah. So, during all that, people were questioning if Dina was really close friends with Teresa because she wasn't going to the wedding. And I already had some opinions on that. Like, obviously, obviously Dina's not going to be at the wedding. It's highly publicized. People know where it is. Once Ramona sealed the deal by letting the whole public know where the venue was, of course Dina was not going to be there. She doesn't want to be part of the media, one. And two, she doesn't need to be traveling places where everybody knows where she's going to be. Look what happened to her and her man when they went to stay at that one hotel or something like that. They came to visit Jersey and stayed one place, and the husband got beat up and they broke his nose. I think they broke her nose too. They broke her nose. They like severely beat him up. It's a whole case. Turns out allegedly, the housewife with the spiky red hair from the first season, won't say any names, was involved and knew about this, like told the people where she was staying. I don't want to say her name. It might be Mary Jo or something like that. We'll just say that, Marilyn Canzo, allegedly. And so she has some beef with these people because she divorced, well, this is fact. Caroline Manzo's husband was the brother of Dina's ex-husband. So when they broke up, there was a little bit of like a rift in the family.
She's my baby
sister. I am 12 years older than her.
Caroline doesn't speak to Dina anymore, and it's really risky for her. Like, they literally got jumped last time they went to Jersey, and they fled and they left, and they're not coming back. Like, they don't spend any time in Jersey, Dina and her husband, new husband. They are not part of that life anymore, and that's obviously why she wasn't attending the wedding. It's dangerous for her, like literally for her safety. Like, the media was going to be covering it, so, and the show I think was even going to film there. Like, she does not need to be there. So I understood why Dina wasn't going. And then Teresa later mentioned like that they are still friends, because people were questioning if they were friends, and Teresa confirmed they're still friends, they're great friends, everything's good. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I can answer the wedding question for you. It's obvious she wasn't going to go because it's not safe. But is she still friends with Teresa? Yes. She's just not part of the New Jersey franchise anymore, and she stays away from cameras, which is smart. And Dina Manzo was always pretty smart. I love Dina, by the way. She was my favorite in Jersey.
I was more excited to see these on my date that's not here yet.
Love Teresa too. What's that? Is it time for another segment? 90s segment. This segment will be everything 90s. It's a good time. It was the best time for all of these Disney classics, and it's, you know, when I was born. So this is the year that I chose. That means a lot to me, that there's a lot of significant memories during this time, and one of them is McDonald's in the 90s. So McDonald's back in the day was tastier. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, McDonald's back in the day, they had the kids' playpens. This is where you would get in there like a maniac and you jump around and play. And it's like a maze, like an obstacle course for a kid, you know? And they have since removed those from all McDonald's. So I don't know if you may know a McDonald's that still has one. Maybe it's a big one. But all of them used to have these playpens for kids in the 90s. I was too afraid to get in them personally, but it was a big thing. You'd see them everywhere. And I got in one at Chuck E. Cheese when I was a kid, and I got stuck in there. I was afraid, couldn't get out. I was just in there looking down at everybody. My brother came in and like I followed him out. They were fun and they were cool, but to do it by myself, it was too much. I needed somebody with me. But yeah, I just wanted to reminisce on those 90s kids' pens. They were super fun, and they're not really around anymore because I think they were not really that sanitary. So yeah, I wanted to remember that, and I wanted to remember that McDonald's had some really cool toys in the 90s. You got these little toys that had Disney characters, like actual cool little toys of the Disney characters on like a Mickey Mouse stand, and it had like this signature, like Captain Hook would be signed with his like type of writing, Stitch would be like in cute like cartoon writing. It had like the character name on it. They were so cool. They gave away like TY little mini Beanie Babies. They gave away like little mini Furbies. They gave away, Furbies were too expensive for me at the time, so yes, I had the mini Furbies. I have a collection. They gave away Madame Alexander dolls that were minis, and those were really pricey too when I was a kid. I did not get any of those, so I had all the little McDonald's ones, and they were replicas of the big dolls, so they were so cool. I still have those. They were beautiful. Like, the toys were actual toys that you would keep forever. Amazing toys. Now you get a paper Jenga, literally. So I got some Space Jam toys like a month ago. Those were cool, but generally the toys are awful. They're so cheap, they're so bad. It just kind of encourages kids to like go for the food, you know, because the toys are so horrible. It's like, just eat your food. Back in the day it was like, don't play with your toy, eat your food first. And now kids just go straight for the food. Childhood obesity. So maybe improve the toys, McDonald's, and maybe reinstall the playpens, because, you know, we need a little exercise. So just clean them up. I don't know. Let me know if anybody is interested in bringing the playpens back, or if they see them still. I don't even know if like Chuck E. Cheese's and everything have those still. So that's our 90s segment. Time for the next segment, which is Let's Get Personal. This is where I will be explaining some personal anecdotes, some personal things about my life, and just things that I personally care about, like the Dear Diary piece of this, you can say. So in my personal life, I will just say that I had surgery. I have a disability. I'll get more into that later when I'm more comfortable with everybody. I will say that I had 3 surgeries in one. It was a month recovery. I'm still recovering, as you can see by my sunglasses. One of the surgeries was a cataract removal, an aqueous shunt, an extraction. A filter was placed in my eye. And it was pretty hard, but it was a lot easier than all the other surgeries I've been through. And I'm super glad to say that everything was super successful. The cataract surgery was something I was really, really afraid of. But if anybody is worried about cataract surgery, you should go through with it. You should do what your doctor tells you to do. And it will really improve your life if everything goes well. My eyes are still super sensitive, so I'm just wearing the glasses because I'm just not, used to seeing like that much, like so much brightness, because I wasn't really getting much light intake at the time. I still am not all the way there, but the improvement is like life-changing. So it's just an amazing feeling. And yeah, I wanted to just explain the glasses. You can just call me a diva. I'd much prefer it. So I'm just being a diva. That's why I'm wearing sunglasses, guys. And as well in this personal segment, I'll mention like complaints that I have or just things that irk me or bother me, because there's a lot of them. And a complaint I have is like in the YouTube world right now. I'm pretty upset with the No Jumper community. I don't know if anybody else watches No Jumper. It's kind of trashy TV, I guess you can say, but I used to watch it for rap content and because I'm a huge fan of Lil House Phone.
Yeah. 15 robbing niggas for they PSP. You got some Pokemon cards, get that shit to Pikachu. Yeah. Call me House Phone, shawty. I ain't got no cells.
He's a rapper. He's a good rapper. I really like him, and he was a part of that show. He did like a podcast with the main guy and a girl at the time, and it was the only reason I watched, because I think he's hilarious and I love his music, and I actually recognized him because of his voice. I was like, oh, that's the rapper that I know, and I looked it up and it was. I'm like, oh my god, a Little House Phone, that's so cool. So I watched. I was pretty loyal to the channel. Like I would watch his Disconnected show. I would watch the No Jumper Tuesday show because he was on it. I started to be a fan of AD, so I would watch the Wednesday show at the end of the day. And now I'm just kind of conflicted about it all, because House Phone and the lead guy of the show were best friends. Like, they had a friendship with each other. And basically, the lead guy of the show goes on and he does a podcast, starts a new podcast with some guy that is not great. Like, he doesn't have a great history. Starts a podcast with him and slanders House Phone. He allegedly is not very kind to House Phone in that podcast. No slander.
I was gonna impersonate someone that I shouldn't have.
You've already sold out entire life here.
Does
that look down upon to expose somebody may have been with a trans person?
Yeah, absolutely. I signed NDAs, just letting everybody know
that. You didn't get one I'm guessing? So just air them out. But I feel like in general, that's kind of a thing.
I have something to say.
Oh, are we gonna ambush? But
I have a feeling that this will soon be about him. I'm going to be hearing a lot about this. I'm worried about people calling me a bad friend for just not editing this. They're going to be mad at me, but I'm just...
He's just going to be...
But should I tell him? Should I give him a little warning? This is coming.
It's your friend, yeah. She'd be like, she totally spilled your beans.
So, in the podcast, he reveals that House Phone has been with a trans person. And I didn't really think it was a big deal. Like, this information, I didn't think it would carry so long and, like, really affect people. But apparently in the rap community, this is like a horrible thing, and like nobody will listen to your rap music or take you seriously after this. Let me know if anybody else like finds this to be true. Like, I guess rappers will not even say like if they're gay or anything, because they just won't be taken seriously in the industry anymore, which is like really difficult. But I kind of knew that, but I wasn't really sure like the extent of it. Like, I'm like, House Phone's a cool guy, what's the big deal? But no, like, I guess this is like a really big deal.
To be fair, it's hard to imagine a gay gangster rapper being very popular.
So Adam revealed that about him. He had never revealed that about himself.
Does that look down upon to expose somebody may have been with a trans person?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I feel like in general, that's kind of a thing.
And Adam tries to claim innocence. Adam is the main guy of the podcast. He claims innocence by saying, I blurted your name out. He blurted his name out all throughout the podcast with this trans person. But in the end, there's like the last 15 seconds where House Phone's name is muttered under someone's voice, and it came out. So this footage aired for everybody to see.
As I was finding clips to add to this, I noticed that this podcast has been heavily edited. It was first uploaded about 5 months ago, and it has been changed a lot since then, but luckily I have the original. After 5 months, Adam has deleted the 15 seconds at the end where they say House Phone's name, but there's still conversations about House Phone in the podcast. It appears as though he only deleted things that were incriminating to himself.
The podcast wasn't deleted right away, and Adam, you know, on this podcast with the same guy, he had like another episode where he said something his wife didn't like. It was removed 4 hours later. It took 4 hours because he was in a poker tournament, but nonetheless, he removed the content 4 hours later. With this podcast, it hasn't been getting very many views. It's like 60K. This is his most viewed one. When the controversies like came out and House Phone called him and stuff, there was no inclination to delete the footage. So I'm just saying, he left it up there for so long, and he claims innocence by saying it was a mistake. Somebody said your name on accident. Even though his friend told him, like, hey, you know, don't talk about me, whatever. It's like you were still talking about him for like 15 minutes over and over, and he says, like, I told the person not to talk about you. If that was really your friend, wouldn't you say, like, hey, I'm not going to do this. Like, you're going to leave if you're going to talk about my friend. Adam says, oh, I didn't want to piss that person off. I know people of that community can be testy. Like, that's a rude thing to say. You could just be honest with that person and say, I don't want to talk about my friend. Anybody would understand. Like, you shouldn't be revealing things about your coworker's past, like intimate past. That's not your place. Like, no one's going to be irrational about that. Like, come on. That's just an excuse. And this guy, Adam, wants to act like he's innocent by saying, oh, the name was blurted out in the end. No. Anybody knows with editing, you can blur out somebody's mouth. Like, you can read. You can read my lips. He didn't blur out anybody's mouth. When you want to blur something out, you blur the mouth out. The whole thing, you can read their lips about that they're saying House Phone. So please tell me. Like, I'm just so conflicted about this. Like, was it an accident or not? Because obviously it's not. Like, how dumb can we be? Obviously he did that on purpose. And people were like, why? Why would you throw your friend under the bus on purpose? Why? But then it comes out that House Phone has told his friends, and they know this secret. And it comes out that House Phone had intimate relations with Adam's soon-to-be wife. Yes, he had had relations with her, and a lot of people knew about it. So when you try to place motive onto why he would do this to his friend, I think it's there.
And I know why you really mad at House Phone. He forked your girl. He plugged her. Plug it in, plug it. What did Ray J say? I hit it first. House Phone hit it first. Everybody else scared to say it. I ain't scared of your white-ass white boy.
So you tell me, did he betray his friend on purpose? Is he a shady guy? Or did this happen on accident? And by the way, he says, I tried my best. Like, I went through the footage. My friend edited it. I never went through it and watched it one more time because we know we're such good friends that I didn't care to do that. Like, okay, whatever. We can just ignore that. I'm going to make a whole video about this because I have a lot to say. But I'm just saying, like, he didn't do his due diligence to make sure the name wasn't in there. It was in there. Never blurred the mouths. And he tries to say, like, oh, you know, I tried my best. But the thing is, let's put this in context, okay? Let's really think about this. Let's say it was Kanye or somebody like that, you know, that they were talking about. I'm sure it would have been, the footage would have been caught, and it wouldn't have come out in the last 15 seconds who they were talking about. I'm sure if somebody was trying to blast a huge celebrity like that, he would have been on it, and he would not have let that come out, because what are you even doing? Like, people are going to go crazy if that happens. It just shows that he did not care about both the celebrity of his friend wasn't high enough for him to care, and that's what he cares about, and the friendship wasn't high enough for him to care, because then he would have really made sure not to talk shit about his friend. So he just didn't care at all, okay? And I stick by my example. If it was a bigger celebrity, Will Smith or something that he was outing, it wouldn't have happened. So you tell me, is this negligence, betrayal? Like, what happened? Because I think it's a pretty shady thing.
I'm not gonna say her name like that.
Hey, listen, no matter what's going on, That's the mother of his child, bro.
Come in peace.
She not involved in none of this shit. I never had no problem with her. I'm never gonna speak no type of weird way. If it was up to me, even in the worst time where I could have like tried to flex on Adam, I would have never said that shit in a million years, bro. At the end of the day, bro, she don't deserve that shit. Whatever happened with me and bro, it ain't got nothing to do with her. I'ma never speak on that shit like that. Me and bro have never talked about that shit. Like since after that time period, I never made a joke about it. I never talked to her about it because it wasn't a big deal, bro. He smacked joints that I liked. Like it wasn't even, nigga, it was nothing, bro. He just ended up really liking this one and wifing her up, bro. Like it was, you know?
Yeah.
Anyways, time for our next segment. Maybe the cauldron can tell us what this was. What was this, huh? What was this? Looks like Adam's a shady person. Shitty guy. Okay, so our next segment is one that I'm pretty excited about. It is our Brave Hearts. That's right, Brave Hearts. This is where we talk about, it's our disability awareness segment, where we talk about anything disability related, okay? So for this week, I wanted to talk about the Curing 1,000 Blind People, the Mr. Beast video that everybody freaked out about. I'm gonna make a separate video about that because I have a lot to say about it, but being somebody that's part of the VIP community, visually impaired, okay? I just want to say that it's super insensitive, okay? That, like, literally, it came out when I got out of surgery. The next day, it came out. And I did not watch it until I was, like, healed, like, a couple weeks healed, so I could actually see it. But I was, like, hearing all my favorite streamers talk about it. And a lot of people had, like, different opinions. They didn't really know how to express how it made them feel. And I just want to say, like, people aren't props. Like, you can do these videos like saying someone's name 10,000 times and like giving people Teslas and things like that. But when it's like people's health, it's just insensitive. Like they're not entertainment, you know? And like you could have done so many other things to actually help these communities. Like there are doctors, like my doctor, who goes all around the US and even out of the country. He goes to like Guatemala and all sorts of countries and brings his equipment and he performs these surgeries like all the time, and there's really not that much funding for that. There's like a couple companies that work with them to do these things, you know, Doctors Without Borders and stuff like that. And like Mr. Beast could have contributed to one of these societies. Like the doctors are the ones performing these surgeries, and like a lot of them do it pro bono, and they're the true heroes. I just don't want people to get confused. Like they're the heroes, not Mr. Beast, who's super insensitive and like thinks that driving is the most important thing in the world. You know, you're gonna be able to drive, you can drive, you can't even drive. It's like, yeah, okay, we get it. Like some people actually can't drive, okay? And just the title, seeing the picture of the kid with his eyes looking like that was like hard to see. And the name, like curing 1,000 people's blindness, like I'm like, what do you mean curing blindness? Like how can you do that? That's not possible. Like are you know, helping with research? Like what are you doing? Like what are you doing to make a change, Mr. Beast? And it's really not curing any sort of blindness. Like these people had cataracts, like had vision their whole lives, like just got blurry vision 3 months previous. There's like 2 cases that actually dealt with like real vision loss from birth, but most of them it's just super reversible, super common surgery, takes like 10 minutes like he says. It's commonly performed surgery. He kind of makes it seem like a 10-minute surgery that nobody does, like blind people are like dumb, like we don't know to do this. Like no, people know about cataract surgery. It's the most prevalent surgery performed aside from like C-sections. It's huge, like people do it all the time. Like so many of our population gets cataracts. I don't know, it was insensitive, okay? There you go. Like, I don't think he followed up with any of these people. He didn't really care about their journey. If the video wasn't a success, if their surgery did not go well, he would just move on to the next one and film them. Like, his heart wasn't in there. And you could tell, just by the kind of guy he is. Like, you can act like this and, like, misinform people when it comes to, like, your burgers. Like, we will be opening restaurants everywhere when it's really just a ghost kitchen, you're not opening restaurants. But when you do this, like curing blindness, and then it's really just paying for surgery that's always done all the time, I don't know, it just stings a little more when you use a community, you know, for your entertainment. I don't know. You have these people watching this video like, oh, how cute. It's like, it's not so cute that people get visioned, okay? It's not a cute thing. Like, would you watch somebody getting cured from cancer and be like, oh, so cute? No, it's just not cute. It's uncanny to use people as entertainment like this. Like, it's just super weird. Like, stick to giving people Teslas and like giving people new homes and like building Barbie dream houses and stuff. Like, those kind of things are cool to see. Like, not people's health. Like, and I don't mock it, help people with their health, but don't like clickbait it and be like curing blindness. You're not. You're helping people pay for surgery that they need and probably are going to get anyway. You just sped up the process, so thank you for that. Like, doctors should say curing people of blindness. They're actually doing that. Like, the misnaming in this situation, it's like hurtful, not funny, not cool, and misleading. And he's like, half the blind population has a curable blindness. What about the other half? Because you saying curing 1,000 people's blindness kind of feels like you're actually curing blindness, and maybe give some people hope that you did something super powerful when really you're just helping people that their blindness is curable. It's totally reversible, like you say. You're not curing blindness. You're helping people, which is great, but don't misname it, okay? And our last segment is going to be our booklet. That's right. A starry sight. I'm just kidding. Our segment is book looks. I will be talking about an author, a book. I'm an English and American literature major, so I will be talking about an author that is inspirational. So, or a book, and just anything that comes to mind. This week, we will be talking about Lois Lowry. She is my favorite author, was my favorite author as a kid, and The Giver was my favorite book. Most people don't know, but there's like, it's a whole, what am I trying to say? Not trilogy, but it's a whole, like, there's a bunch of books. There's like 4 different books. Everybody just knows about the first one. It was released in 1993. It's a great book. It's about a utopian society, which you later find out that it's rather dystopian. And Lois Lowry, as an author, like, she attributes this book to her father's memory loss. And she says, like, when he was going through this, it was like difficult to explain these stories to him. Like, her sister passed and she had to like tell that again to her father, which was like really difficult to relive and explain to him. So it was just this book about like eliminating pain, all these sorts of feelings, or like bringing them back to somebody and like showing them like all these different memories. Like, it was just a book based on memory loss of her own father's experience. I thought that was really touching. But when you think about the society, I always wondered, like, what is this like society supposed to be? Is it based off of Soviet Russia, communism? Is it based off of like, I don't know if that word's blocked, Momunism? You know, is it based off of totalitarian governments, dictatorships? And you know, Germany came to mind right away. Like, just the way that the society works, the way that they like keep things from the people, you know, they don't like them to really get that much information. Only The Giver has information of literature and science and all these different books, and the people just get what they're given. So all this kind of just made me wonder, and like, I looked into it, and it was quite interesting to realize that yes, it is based on a totalitarian government, and it's like she understood all of this and really like understood. It was like based off of like the Germany stuff. And another book that she wrote that I didn't even realize, which is a huge children's book. It's like the 37th highest seller to this day, and it's like 20 years later, and it's like all children in most children in schools end up reading this book when they're learning about the I just don't want to use these words that are going to get me flagged, but you know, when we're learning about what happened in Germany, when we're learning about those travesties, in school, there's a couple of books that kids read. There's one that's like so devastating that I was told about that I never read, and oh my gosh, it's a difficult read. It's based off of a true story. But this other book that was like a little more easy for children to digest, but it was still super sad. It's about Copenhagen at the time and Sweden and all that, so it's not like in the heart of what was going on, but it's definitely like talks about like hiding people for their safety and all that sort of stuff. It's about a girl that wasn't even Jewish. She was like Catholic or something like that, but her friend is Jewish and she like helps their family. Super, super touching book. I thought it was called Anne Marie's Stars because I remembered the character Anne Marie as a kid, but it's called Number the Stars. And I looked up the book, and guess who the author is? Lois Lowry. And it came out in 1989, so that's like 4 years before The Giver was written, and she took a couple trips out there to Germany. She basically knows everything about that sort of stuff, and that's because her dear friend Annalisa, which it would be Anna Marie if you pronounce it like the way that they say it, but it's like in Denmark, it would be like Anna Marie, but it's Anne Marie. And it's based off of her friend Annalisa's story, who told her about her childhood and losing her sister because they weren't fed and they were suffering. And her sister, who was pregnant, they both passed, her and the child. It's like really devastating. And she says, well, it's because of what we were going through during the time. And Lois Lowry is like, what do you mean? And that's when she found out that her friend actually was in Germany during these times. And no, I'm sorry, her friend was in Denmark and actually had a true story to tell. So when Lois Lowry heard the story, she said this would be a great story for children to understand, like a great way to tell them, because you learn about these things in school, but you don't really attach, you don't really understand what you're learning, So this book would be a great way to explain this to children in a digestible way for them to understand. And it did leave an impact on me, the book, and it's amazing that it's the same author. So I just wanted to give a little nod to that yes, The Giver is based on a totalitarian government, much like the governments in Nazi Germany and the government in Soviet Russia. And she had a personal story of that to tell when she told Number the Stars. And it's just a great read. I do believe that the similarities are pretty interesting. You have the elders in The Giver, which it's kind of a joke, oh, check with the elders, because everybody knows, if you have an appeal, if you have a question about your life, you can go take it up with the elders, but it's a running joke because you can appeal it, but they're never really going to help you or give you your way. Families can have up to 2 children, a boy and a girl, everything is monitored in the book, and there's only one news source, which is what the people all get. The Giver is the only one that is privy to old philosophy and literature and everything. And it's just, the similarities are pretty interesting. So I just want to take a nod and give her props, because Lois Lowry is an amazing author, and both of these books are a great read. They really influenced my life, my opinion. I really got to think about just philosophy and thoughts I never really had after I read The Giver, what is the color red, and what's the meaning of feeling a burn or feeling a cut, It's just beautiful literature. And Number the Stars, she added that eloquence in that book as well. The way that she describes situations and scenarios, you almost want to cry, because it's just so well written and emotional, and it's an amazing read, both of them. So yeah, I just wanted to say, if anybody ever wondered The Giver, what kind of government that is exactly, the dystopian government, and it is made up, but yeah, it had a lot of similarities to that society. So I want to say that Number the Stars and The Giver have a lot more coincide a lot more than just the same author. There's a lot of similarities. I wanted to leave this off also with a quote from Lois Lowry. She says, "Children are the ones that can make a difference in this world. So that's kind of what it feels like when you're a kid and you feel like you don't matter, or like your voice and opinions don't matter. And then you read Lois Lowry's books like The Giver, where Jonas is so important even though he's just a normal kid, and Anne Marie is so important even though she's just a normal kid. And they really do make a difference, both of them, in like society. They make a change in the world, they make a change in people's outlooks, their own outlook changes. It's just like, it's really powerful to read books like that when you're a kid, because you can really relate to these characters, and it just shows you to understand like the beauty of life and like the difference that even a child can make when you feel so insignificant at that age. Oh, I forgot one more segment. This segment is called The Curse. Magic or tragic? In this segment, I will discuss a curse. What curse would you rather have? Would you rather have the curse of every single present you see, you have to open it? Or the curse where every baby you see, you must hold it? This is pretty self-explanatory segment. Which would you rather have? If you open every present, let's say you're at a kid's birthday party, what, you're gonna run over there and start opening all the gifts? And what would your excuse be? You say, oh, I'm just checking to see if it's poisoned, or I just think this is funny. But then you continue to open every single present. On Christmas, you open every single present. It's like the joke is gonna fade out. People are gonna be like, okay, what is wrong with you? Why are you opening all these kids' presents? But then the baby one is pretty freaky too, because, you know, even if you just grab the baby for a second, oh, so cute, I have to hold this baby, and then you put it down. If you see a baby, you have to hold the baby. So this means if you're walking on the sidewalk, you see a lady with a stroller, you're behind that lady trying to start a conversation because you gotta hold that baby and put it down. Which one would you rather have? Me, personally, I'd probably say the presents. It'd be horrible and I wouldn't get invited to parties, but the baby one, that's a real problem right there. Maybe I'd do the baby one because I am just like a nice girl, so I could probably get away with the baby one, but I'm sure a lot of people would be like not wanting a stranger to hold their baby, you know? So yeah, I'd probably take the present one. Me personally. I don't see anything in the future that I can predict to you as of right now, just that you'll watch episode 2 of Almost Fiction. I'm just kidding, but yeah, I don't see any premonitions, any predictions to make as of right now, but I'm just letting you know that's a possible segment for the future. And that's all my topics for today, guys. So if you guys like this, let me know. Give me a watch, please, and we'll see what we get into next week. Bye!